Hello, friend. Thank you so much for tuning in and getting on your mat with me today. My name is Natalie Adele, and we have my sister Holly here and my friend Kristen. And today's hour-long flow is all about the first floor of the body, the foundation of our body, our hips, the legs, and really getting into our root chakra. So it's also going to be very activating. So the only prop you need is a block, and you're more than welcome to start off in easy seat, like my friends here are kneeling, or you can also come into Virabhadrasana, kneeling on a block if your knees are okay with that. So we're going to start off with a little bit of breath work, and this is more of an energizing breath work because our flow today is pretty activating. So I'm choosing the I Am Inspired oil for that. So go ahead and grab your I Am Inspired oil, and I'm going to place it in the left palm of the hand. So we're going to be starting with a breath work that's very popular in the Kundalini tradition. And we're going to be working with the sun energy of our body, the Ida Nadi, which is the right side of the body. So go ahead and take the I Am Inspired into the palms and just start by generating a little bit of heat. Let's rub the palms together. Maybe you're already starting to relax the shoulders, sitting up nice and tall, softening the belly, and starting to activate Mula Bandha, your pelvic floor. And let's go ahead and take a few deep breaths together here. Really extending your inhales and prolonging your exhales. Take about 3 more deep breaths here. I'm going to come up on my block to elevate my spine. And wherever you are, maybe just roll around your pelvic floor on the earth a little bit to really plug into the energy of the root. So let's go ahead and land the palms on the knees. You're going to take your right hand, come into can't remember the name of the mudra, but it's all right. Bring your thumb and index finger together, and then go ahead and take your left hand, spreading all 5 fingers, and plug off your left nostril. So the left side of our body is the moon side, the right side of the body is the sun side. So if we just breathe out of the right nostril, we're really activating that sun energy. So go ahead and plug off the left nostril. Go ahead and close the eyes and rotate the gaze in and up to the third eye space, the pineal gland. Relax the jaw, close the lips, and start to take deep, full breaths in through the right nostril and out through the right nostril. In through the right nostril and out through the right nostril. And as you proceed here, you might notice perhaps you have to blow your nose. That's quite all right. Take a break, press pause, blow your nose. And just focus on the right side of your body, the masculine side, the scholarly side, the giving side, the sun side. And perhaps with your hand here, you can also get that beautiful gift of aromatherapy from the I Am Inspired oil. This has lemongrass, orange peel, so those are really activating for the lower chakras, our solar plexus and our sacral chakra. So already we're setting our breath and our energy lower into the body, getting out of our head and into our body. Let's take 3 more breaths. See if you can really extend these last few breaths, setting the breath low into the diaphragm, soft belly, all the way into the pelvis, and maybe holding that last inhale and sipping in 3 more times. Hold, relax your shoulders, face, relax everything, just hold the breath. Think of the sun swirling and twirling around in the pelvis. Open mouth, exhale, release both hands to the ground. Beautiful. Inhale, reach the arms up high, palms touch. Exhale, back to the heart. Let's do a few more of those. We're just clearing the energy field around us and extending the breath. We're starting our practice by just pairing body and breath. That's really, really important. inviting the breath into your yoga journey today. Let's do 2 more. On your next inhale, reach the arms up, interlace the thumbs, hold the breath at the top, sip in 3 more quick sips through the mouth, hold, pull up, mula bandh, pelvic floor, sip in 3 more times, hold. Really squeeze your spine, all the muscles of your body, send that held energy all the way up out through the crown, open mouth, exhale, release, come back to the breath. All right, my loves, let's meet in a wide-legged child's pose. So wide knees, feet touch, coming to the middle or back of the mat. We're gonna bring our knees pretty wide, but not so wide that when you come into child's pose, you can't feel the thighs on the ribs. So you wanna have the inner thighs grazing the ribs, having contact with your body. And just take a moment here to rock side to side, maybe shimmy the shoulders a little. Sometimes I like to look up and then back down, over to the right, over to the left. And I really want you to roll the forehead, kind of ironing out any areas of warrior tension in between the eyebrows. Maybe you rest one cheek on the mat for a moment, stretching the cervical spine. And I really want you to focus on your hips here. Already you may be feeling it in the hips. Really send a deep breath low into the inner thighs, the front of the kneecaps, big opening in the kneecaps. And then go ahead and walk the arms forward and really press the palms into the mat, the heels of the hand. So you can just scooch your hips and your pelvis and your sacrum a little further back. Are you breathing? Can you relax the shoulders? Can you make contact with your glutes and your heels? Soften the belly. And as you're in child's pose here, go ahead and set an intention for your practice. We're working with our root chakra, so maybe it has something to do with that, right? A sense of belonging, a sense of safety, a sense of nurturing or self-love. But go ahead and set an intention. Inhale the intention into the body. Exhale, release the intention into your practice. Let's go ahead and inhale, come to tabletop. Bring the knees hip-width apart. Bring the hands a little bit further forward and shift the hips forward and down. Relax the shoulders, so notice if your shoulders are all the way up by the ears. And take a little micro bend in your elbows here so you're not hyperextending. Really press, engage the tops of the feet into the mat. Shoulders down, gaze lifts. Soften the belly. Really notice the big sensation of stretch in your hip flexors, the abdomen. Take an inhale, look up a little higher, turn a smile on the face, and then look over your right shoulder, look for your left heel on the exhale. Inhale brings you back to center, full breath here, fill. Exhale over to the left, look for the right heel. Inhale brings you back to center. And then exhale, find your child's pose with the knees together, curling the toes for this one. So child's pose with the toes curled under. If that's too intense for you, just untuck the toes. So what I want you to do here again is to walk the arms a little bit more forward and really press the heels of the hands, the meaty part of the hand, into the mat to deepen that stretch. Can you pull your tailbone a little closer to the wall behind you? Notice the sensation that's coming up in your feet, the plantar fascia. So for those of you who have plantar fasciitis, you stand on your feet all day, great stretch to do at the end of your day. And freedom in our body starts in our feet, right? It's how we walk this world. If we work with our root chakra, we've got to work on the feet. So stay here with the lower body, but walk both hands over to 2 o'clock. So think of a clock, and you want to come right to 2 o'clock, not 1:30, not 3, but 2 o'clock, yeah. And then once you're there, can you really press the heel of the left hand further into the mat to maintain contact with the left hip and the left heel? Can you breathe into your left lung? Inhale. Let out a big sigh. Exhale, beautiful. Inhale brings you back to the center of your mat. And then exhale, take it over to 11 o'clock on your clock with the hands. Once you're there, maintain even deeper contact with the right heel of the hand to press the right hip back down a little bit more. Sometimes when we do these lateral walks, we tend to lift the opposite hip. Take a big full breath into that right lung, the sun side of the body. And a big sigh out. Inhale brings you back to center. Look forward, lift the chest. Exhale, drop the forehead. Inhale, look forward, lift the chest. And exhale, drop the forehead. Our toes are still curled under. Go ahead and come up here to tabletop. And we're gonna come into the beloved toe stand. So bring the knees together, feet together. Optional block here. So let's go ahead and come all the way back onto the heels. So I always like to look back and make sure my pinky toes are all the way involved. Sometimes they sort of renegade back there. So go ahead and tuck them under. And here's the pose. We're gonna hold this pose for a minute, so it seems fine now, but soon enough, sensation's gonna start to creep in, which means the mind is gonna start talking to you. If this is too intense for you, you always have the option to lift the hips and bring a block in between your heels and your hips. This kind of lightens the load a little bit. So really important in toe stand, gaze is forward. So your energy is going to be very focused on the lower body because there's a lot of sensation here. So can we instead lift the body? So lift the pelvic floor, lift the pericardium, lift the pineal gland, and lift the crown of the head. Your arms can be down by your side, palms face up. Sometimes for an added stretch, I like to interlace fingers and press the palms forward to stretch my hands as well. Notice if your jaw starts gripping or if your face starts getting all serious. Just breathe. Engage the pelvic floor, Mula Bandh. I really want you to pay attention here to your chin. Sometimes when we're feeling a little overwhelmed or uncomfortable, we do this, and we drop our head into feet, and then the pose is over, right? We've given up. So stay tall and proud in your pose. A little micro movement in the head helps take away from the sensation. Go for that. We're going to do about 10 more breaths here. Send the breath low into the feet where you feel sensation. Aging starts in the feet, right? That's the first part of our body that ages. But we don't notice it or feel it until it starts to get to the knees and the hips, and now we're paying attention, right? So this pose is great for a healthy body, healthy joints. 2 more breaths. Go ahead and lift the heels, hips off the ground, off the mat, and then come to tabletop, untuck your toes, woo, feeling that. Gently tap the tops of the feet onto the mat. I like to move the head a little bit here, let out some lion sighs. And then just find stillness. Just take a breath, gaze down. All right, so the hands are underneath your shoulders. Little micro bend in the elbows if you tend to hyperextend like I do. Look behind you, knees are hip width apart, feet are right behind them. Let's do some cat-cow. Inhale, drop the belly, slow to begin, look up. Exhale, expels the breath, chin to chest, navel in. Inhale. And exhale. So cat-cow is, in my opinion, one of the most valuable flows in yoga. It's amazing for the spine. For those of you who sit at a desk all day and you're looking for something to do in the middle of the day, do cat-cow, 20 reps. We're gonna do a few more rounds. Feel free to explore here, knowing especially that we're working on the root chakra. Maybe you start to circle out the hips. Maybe you chase the tail, looking over one shoulder, other shoulder. Sometimes I like to kind of rock a little bit forward and back. But whatever you're choosing to do, just notice how the breath undulates through the tissues and the ligaments of the hip joint. Let's do one more breath here. And we'll stay here in tabletop. We're gonna do a few rounds of cat-cow a little bit faster, but first, let's stretch the wrists. So inhale, reach the right arm forward, up, back, and down with the fingertips landing behind you. Inhale, left arm reaches forward, back, up, and down, fingertips landing behind you. If this isn't a possibility for you, then do standard cat-cow. So again, notice how I'm really hyperextended in my elbows, so I'm just gonna take a little micro bend here. We're gonna do a few rounds of cat-cow, much faster, to start to whip up the energy that's stuck in the lower spine. So it's gonna look and sound like this, fire breath. So go ahead and join whenever you're ready. Okay, and I want you to close your eyes and notice if tension starts to gather in your jaw. It often will here because this is a little bit of an unfamiliar pace, right? And I really want you to focus on churning, whipping up the energy, unlocking the stuck energy, the stuck stories, the stuck traumas in your hip joint and in your sacrum. Yeah, keep on going. Nice work, ladies. Maybe you can go a little faster. Really charge it up for these last few. Notice what's coming up for you. Eyes closed, inward gaze. 2 more breaths. And find stillness. Take a deep breath in. And sigh out. We're gonna reverse our hands back to normal, going out the opposite way we came in. So left arm reaches back, up, forward. Fingertips face the front. Right arm reaches back, up, forward, fingertips face the front. Good. So let's extend our right leg out to the side here, and we're gonna take big hip circles with the right leg. So your hip socket is a ball and socket joint, right? Which means it's really designed for massive range of motion. But we move this way, and that's about it. So it forgets. So here you're reminding that of it. Really want you to keep strength in the upper body. And notice, again, the jaws, like clenching up. Keep the belly really engaged. Go ahead and switch directions. Imagine on your knee you have a big piece of sidewalk chalk, right? And all that wall on this side of you to draw on. Make big, smooth circles. Notice if the circles are jagged in any way. Take one more big breath, one more big circle. And you're gonna keep that right leg lifted, as if you're peeing out a fire hydrant there. Look over your right shoulder and extend your right leg out to the right. And then notice if you've leaned all your weight over to the left, even out the weight, point your right foot and take mini circles here, like you're drawing a teeny circle on the wall. So lift your right leg up there, Kristen, off the ground, there you go. One more breath in. Keep the leg extended, flex the foot, drop the foot to the ground on the breath out. Really nice. So take a little bend in that right knee, and we're gonna just take big circles here, exploring our hip joints. I want you guys to notice in your hips where the energy is stuck, right? Close the eyes. Find fluidity also in the upper body. Try not to feel so stiff. Switch directions. One more breath. Good. Keep the right leg here, straighten it out, and then start to shift the hips back for a child's pose with your leg extended. So your hips may be able to reach all the way back, or they may not be able to. Either way, it's okay, as long as you're feeling a stretch here in the inner thigh. So options in this pose, you can walk the arms out forward. Sometimes I like to go for a little bit more lift and come onto tented fingertips. Sometimes I like to take the journey over to that extended foot and reach the opposite arm up to the sky or down the lower back. You can also explore here, is my right foot on the ground, or do I twist my toes up and point them to the sky? So there's so many options here. Make sure you're breathing. One more full breath. We're all gonna meet with the hands underneath the shoulders when you're ready. And we're gonna inhale, come up onto that knee, arms all the way up to the sky, gate pose. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, heart center. You can always pad that bottom knee if you need to. One more time. And heart center. So notice we're really making contact with the pinky edge side of that right foot onto the ground. Go ahead and bring the right arm down the extended leg. Inhale, left arm reaches up, and then take a nice lateral stretch over to the right. Without dumping, I want you to keep the energy lifted, maybe even turn up to face the sky. The chin finds the hook of the left armpit. Press the hips a little more forward. Take a deep breath in and out. Use both hands, core strength. Inhale brings you center. And then can you come all the way down to the left side of the body? If that feels really far away from you, take a block and bring it closer to you. So we're in a modified side plank here, still maintaining pinky edge contact with the ground. And shift the gaze up, right armpit, right chin, come into alignment. Stay here or play around with lifting that right leg, extended leg off the ground, shifting the gaze down to the floor. If the leg is lifted, let's dial it up a little more. Inhale, and crunch knee to elbow, exhale. Inhale, again, this is an option. Exhale, one more. Inhale, lands the leg, both arms come up. And exhale, let's meet back in tabletop. And just take a few breaths here to release in your own way, maybe cat-cow, maybe a child's pose. And again, if you need padding for that knee, go ahead and grab it. Just a rolled up blanket will do just fine. Let's take a few more breaths here. And let's meet back in tabletop. Always check in when you're coming back into tabletop, knees behind or underneath the hips and feet behind them, hands under shoulders. Left knee lifts, and go ahead and either point or flex your left foot and take big circles here. So notice if this is you, if you're just sticking with the limited mobility of your hip, can you expand into a bigger circle? Find freedom in the neck here. Maybe you roll around the neck a little bit. Can the knee face the floor, the wall behind you, the ceiling, the wall in front of you? Go ahead and switch directions. Lift out of the shoulders. Notice if you've started to dump into the upper body. One more breath. And then go ahead and extend the left leg out. Either point or flex the foot and take little mini circles. Even the weight out. Notice if you're leaning over. If you were on a paddleboard, would you have already flipped over into the water? One more breath. Flex the foot, inhale, and land it long on the ground, exhale. And then go ahead and shift the hips back for your version of the pose on this side. Again, the arms can be extended out long. You can come for a lift, or you can come for a little bit of a twist here. This pose is really nice for opening up the meridians of our inner thighs. One more big full belly breath. And then come out of it the opposite way you came in. Before we come into gate pose, I forgot to do our little hip circles on this side. So come back to your tabletop, take a bend in the left knee, and start to circle it out here. Just kind of exploring all the little dark crevices of the hip joint. Finding fluidity in the upper body. Go ahead and switch directions. Notice what corners of your body feel unfamiliar to you. And then go ahead and find stillness. We'll meet in gate pose. So inhale, reaches the arms up high. Exhale, back to the heart. Inhale, arms up, look up. Exhale, heart. And one more. Reach the arms up high. Keep the right arm lifted. Left hand comes to that extended leg and gently fold. Not collapse, but fold. We're focusing on the opening in the right side of our body. And then you can tuck the chin into the armpit, find a deeper opening, maybe a little twist in the upper body. Really engaging that pinky side of your left foot. Inhale brings you back up, both arms. And then take it over to the right on the exhale. Again, option to use a block. Top arm reaches overhead. The armpit and the chin are connected. So you can stay here, yogis. Let's all press the hips forward a little more. Or you can start to float that extended leg. Option to stay here, or we're dial it up a little more. Inhale, exhale, knee and elbow. Inhale, exhale. Last one if this is what you're choosing to do. And exhale. Inhale, find the legs. We'll all meet with that leg on the ground. Reach the arms up high. And let's come back into tabletop. And again, take some time to release in your own way. My wrist was a little sore from that one, so I'm just gonna kind of flick out my wrist a little bit. If you notice that your heart rate is now really elevated, then perhaps you were holding or gripping the breath for part of that flow. So come back to your slow, deep, rhythmic breath. And when you're ready, whenever you're ready, let's all meet in downward facing dog. Really take your time getting there. And once you're in your downward facing dog, just take some time really exploring it. Right, so maybe you're bending one knee deeply and the other knee, or looking under opposite shoulder. Maybe you roll out the wrists and the ankles. Maybe you lift a leg or take some hip circles here. Move your neck a little bit. So what we tend to do in downward facing dog is hold a lot of tension here in the upper body. So let the head relax. Let the ears be in line with your arms. Rotate the armpit of the body underneath to open up the shoulders. Maybe play around with lifting the heels high off the ground and then dropping them. Sometimes I like to curl the top of the foot and stretch the tops of the toes, yeah. Take 3 really deep breaths here as the energy of your body lifts the hips up and back. Remember the heels, the meaty part of your hands, like in that child's pose, press into the hands to lift out of your wrists. Yeah. As you inhale, look forward, shift forward into a high up dog. Keep the toes curled under. Stay here. So I want you to pay attention to my heels. Shift the heels back to lift the hips more. Take a breath in, look up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, come back, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. We're gonna do 2 more. You can go a little faster. We'll meet in downward facing dog. If you need a child's pose, take one. And in our down dog, let's find our breath. We're gonna take a shorter stance in a down dog. So I'm gonna walk my feet a little further into my hands, just a little bit of a shorter dog. And we're gonna take a twist, so just stay with me here. With your right hand, grab the left heel, palm and heel. So shorten the stance as much as you need to make contact with that. Look underneath your left shoulder, armpit and shoulder meet, armpit and shin meet. Take a deep bend in the right knee, bringing the right knee to the right armpit. Yeah, you got it. Press into the heel of your left hand so you're not dumping into your left shoulder. Hello. Gather the belly in. Keep the hips lifted high. One more breath. And release. Right hand down. Go ahead and take your left hand underneath the heel of the right foot. Bend your left knee deeply. Left knee, left armpit, make connection. Shin and right armpit, make connection. Press the heel of the right hand into the mat to lift out of the upper body. And breathe. Release your jaw. One more inhale. Exhale. Good. Go ahead and walk the hands back to the feet and take a deep bend in the knees. My knees are hip width apart, and I'm resting the inner thighs on my outer ribs. And then go ahead and interlace opposite elbows, getting a good grip with palm and the eye of the elbow. Shake your head yes and no. Shift the weight forward into the toes, back into the heels. And just like you do in down dog, energy of the hips is lifted, energy of the chest is pressing down, right? Maybe stick out the tongue here. Can you bend the knees just a little bit more? Good. Release fingertips to the mat. Find a longer leg here. Don't hyperextend the knees. Still micro bend in the knees. And you're going to grab opposite ankles, the front of opposite ankles. Take a deep breath in, lengthen spine. And as you exhale, bend the elbows and give yourself a nice good stretch. Bend your knees as much as you need to here. If your hamstrings are screaming, don't have an argument. Go ahead and bend the knees as much as you need to. One more breath in. Deeper pull, expel the breath more, belly out. Inhale, fingertips come to the ground. Now what we're going to do is reach the hands behind us and grab opposite ankles. So you might have to bring the feet a little closer together for this one. Inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, fold. So really find a little mini back bend here. Notice if you're caving the chest, you still want the collarbones to press through. My hamstrings are definitely feeling this one. And notice if this deep abdominal compression has shallowed out the breath. Can you still send the breath low into the hip joint? Can you lift the shoulders away from the ears up to the sky? 2 more breaths. Awesome. Go ahead and walk back to your downward facing dog and just take some time to recalibrate and pedal it out. And as always, it's always a nice idea to check your form when you get back into down dog after another transition. I like to shift forward to high plank, make sure my hands are underneath my shoulders, and then come back to downward facing dog. So stay with me for this one, guys. We're gonna come into a yogi squat, but we're gonna jump our way to it. So you're gonna look forward, and as you jump, you're gonna step forward and land with the hands outside the feet. And maybe you travel and just walk yourself up there, but here we are in yogi squat, yeah. So I always like to just kind of shift around here, find fluidity in this very earthy and grounded pose. Shimmy the weight to the right, to the left. Find really some movement here. Move the neck around. Kristen's sitting on a block, which is an awesome modification for yogi squat. Sometimes I like to maintain stillness in yogi squat, or sometimes I like to really deeply twist it out. You know, the benefit of all of those options is really the same, right? The intention is to sink low into the body and get closer to the earth. Really engage Mula Bandha, your pelvic floor, so that your energy is not leaking out of the pelvis. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Smile on the face. If the block is underneath you, go ahead and release it. Fingertips on the mat. Inhale, lifts the hips. Heel toe the feet back together. And then go ahead and just pedal it out here. Sometimes I like to shake off my legs. Sometimes I like to come all the way down. Whew, feeling it. Another counter pose for yogi squat is actually turning the toes in and folding. Internal rotation of the hip flexor. So much of our yoga practice is self-discovery, right? And a lot of these counter poses I've discovered just by playing around on my mat and realizing what feels good for me. And that may be entirely different than what feels good for you. And you certainly don't need to be a yoga teacher to discover that, right? Just listening to the body. Let's take another breath here. Fingertips on the mat. We're gonna stay in a forward fold, but can you reach the fingertips forward now? So I'm still in a forward fold, my hips are still lifted, but I'm looking forward now. There's a little back bend, so shift the gaze forward, collarbones lift. Inhale, exhale, fold, bend the knees. Rise up to stand, big breath in. Heart center, breath out. Inhale, sweep the energy through, look up. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift, full breath. Exhale, fold. Rise up, breathe deep, inhale. Heart center. We'll do one more. I'll just cue the breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Rise up, big breath in. Hold the breath at the top. Interlace thumbs. Sip in 3 more. Hold. Sip in 3 more. Hold. And exhale, arms down by your side. Beautiful. How are you guys feeling? How are we doing? So I want to show you a little flow. This is a Kundalini-inspired Kriya. I call it the frog flow, and you'll see why in a second. So I'll just demonstrate it, and then we can all join. So I'm going to be coming with my heels and inner feet touching. Actually, let me just think about this for a sec. My heels are going to touch, my toes are turning out, just slightly. So I'm going to be starting off on the ground here, like so. My heels are lifted, and see how the heels are touching. My toes are turning out. Now, if this feels really inaccessible for you, you can always take a chair in front of you and give yourself something to lean on, or a few blocks, right, if you're unable to contact the ground. So the Kriya is going to be, we are going to, let me just think about this. Yes, you're going to inhale here, and as you exhale, my heels still stay lifted and together. I exhale, fold, gaze down. I inhale, forward. And I exhale, fold. All right, let's do it. Inhale, exhale. Keep those heels lifted if you can. So you can go nice and slow. Again, you can always have a chair in front of you, or like the Kundalinis do, you can charge it up, fire breath. Really important here, guys, as you keep on flowing, that you don't lose yourself in this Kriya, right? Stay with the breath. Maybe you go slow, maybe you charge it up. Keep the eyes open, keep the belly engaged, send the breath low into the roots. Let's do 5 more rounds, either fast or slow. You guys are doing great. Whenever you're done, let's meet in a forward fold. Feet come back to hip width apart, and just soften it out. Grab opposite elbows than you did before. And relax. Noticing how the first floor of your house feels. We've done a deep spring cleaning of the first floor of our house today. And open the windows. Take another big full inhale, and I want you to really let out a good sigh. Beautiful. Yes. Bring your fingertips back to the mat. Bring your feet closer together. We're going to take a low lunge, extending the right leg out behind us. And before you commit to where the foot is, can you bring it a little further back? Go ahead and gently drop the back knee. So I just want to make a point here about knee and padding on the knee. So there's a lot of schools of thought that think that if you need padding under your knee, you're just not in the right placement and perhaps putting too much weight on your knee. So perhaps after readjusting, you won't need padding under the knee. How do we know? If the knee's bothering you, what I'd like for you to do always in low lunge is curl the back toes so the top of the foot is on the mat, and just lift the back knee. This charges up your extended leg, and then you slowly place the knee back down. That might change the sensation on the knee. We'll all meet with the knee down. Inhale, lifts you up to the sky. Exhale, back to the heart. Inhale. Exhale. Beautiful breathing, ladies. One more breath in. Keep your hands in prayer. We'll meet at heart center on the breath out. Just bring awareness to your left knee. It's in front of, or above, I should say, the left heel. And notice if it's gearing out or in. That can indicate a weakness in the thigh. Just be aware of it and bring it back to center. The thumbs are against your chest, right in the middle. Shoulders are down, elbows are lifted. Take a full breath in. And let's twist and hook it over to the left on the breath out. Hooking your right tricep on the left outer thigh. Your hands can be in prayer. You can come into fist and palm here. Yes, you can also extend. So shift the gaze to the left side of the room first, then up, and then back. This is a deep twist. It's a balancing pose. So what's going on with your breath here? Soft breath. One more. Reverse the opposite way you went in. Inhale brings you back up. And exhale, forward fold. Let's take our low lunge to the other side. Let's halfway lift first. Inhale. Exhale, fold, left leg goes back. Again, before you commit to where the foot is, can you step it back 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters more, and then gently drop the knee. Uncurl the toes, and we'll all just lift the back knee off the ground to really even out placement on that left side, and then slowly drop the knee. Coming onto tented fingers, chest is lifted, gaze is lifted. Inhale, reach the arms up high. Exhale, back to the heart. Inhale, smooth breath. Even if the body doesn't feel smooth right now, right? We're wobbling. One more. Meet in center, hands in prayer. Thumbs against chest, elbows up, shoulders down. Inhale, look up. Squeeze it out. Exhale, twist over. So first you get the twist, right? How's that knee doing? Did it migrate back? Is it still above the ankle? And then maybe you come into hands in prayer or fists. Can you bring the hands back to the center of the chest, deepening the twist? Look over to the right, look up, and then look back. Release the grip in the jaw. Let's hear the breathing. Beautiful, one more breath. Rewind out of the pose, inhale. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Stand up tall, breathe deep, big breath in. Find your heart center, breath out. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift. And fold. Beautiful work. Let's go ahead and bend the knees. We'll meet in a seat. The hard work is over. Really, really nice work today. So we're gonna meet in a seat. Let's bring the soles of the feet to the mat about hip-width apart. Bring the hands behind the thighs. Relax the shoulders. Really maintain contact with your feet. Look forward and up, seated cat-cow. Inhale, pulls the chest through, elbows by ribs. Exhale, extend arms long, chin to chest, but drop your shoulders. Inhale, pull through. I really want you guys to enjoy this and relax into this flow, letting the body know that the work is done. The hard work is done. 2 more breaths. Your last one, we're gonna meet down on the ground. You're gonna extend your arms all the way overhead. Go ahead and point the toes, stretch all 10 fingers, arch the lower back off the ground. Breathe deep, send the breath low into the body. And hug the knees in on the breath out. And just take a moment here with yourself. Maybe you roll out the knees. Maybe you take a happy baby. Sometimes I like to just extend the legs out and the arms and give them a good shake. Just explore time and space with your body. Maybe you take a little rock side to side. It feels really nice to be on our backs, huh? Take one more deep breath here with yourself. And we'll set up for a bridge flow. So we're gonna do 3 rounds of bridge. We're all gonna start off with regular bridge. So let's bring the soles of the feet to the ground, hip width apart. And I notice I can graze my heels with my hands, right? If your heels seem really far away from your hands, scooch the hips down a little and bring your heels and hands closer together. Walk the shoulders underneath the body a little bit and away from the ears. Plant the hands firmly into the mat, knees above ankles. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, lift the hips up. Stay here for the inhale. And slowly drop the hips down, but let them hover on the ground. Exhale. Inhale, charge it up. Exhale, bring it down. We're going to do 5 more. Option to include the arms. Inhale, arms overhead, hips lift. Exhale, arms down, hips down, or float. Really nice breathing. So just a little tidbit. If you notice when you do bridge, your knees drift really far apart, you can always take a block in between the knees to keep yourself honest and keep the lower body and the root engaged. 2 more. Last one. And when you're done, go ahead and gently release the lower back, release the block if it's there, and just rest for a moment in stillness. A lot of times there's a tendency to hug the knees into the chest, which is a great counterpose to bridge, but not if we're doing more bridges. So we don't want to do that just yet. We're going to do another bridge. You have options here. You can take a supported bridge, bringing the block underneath the sacrum, right? And that's your bridge. Or you can come up a little bit higher and interlace hands underneath the body. Palms touch. Option here to stay, or you can lift the heels off the mat. Whatever version of bridge you're doing, one thing that's really important to know is it is in fact an inversion, right? Your head is below your heart, therefore you're upside down. So I really want you to keep your neck still and not look over to the left and to the right. The chin is close to the chest, right? But I can still breathe. And look at your body. I want you to look at your hips, look at your ribs. Engage the core so much that you can't breathe into the belly. You can only breathe into the lungs. Look at your hips, lift the hips. 1 more breath. And slowly release. Hips slowly come down. Remove the shoulders if they're pinching under the body, and stay in stillness. We're going to do 1 more round. Again, option for a restorative bridge. We've done a lot of work today. If you really want to go there, you can come into wheel pose. Let's do it. Whatever version, regular bridge, supported bridge, or wheel pose. So for those of you in wheel pose, I'm just going to demonstrate with my friend Kristen here. Go ahead and make sure your feet are facing, yes, inward. And press your chest towards the back of the room. Press your chest towards my hand, my voice. Yes, there you go. Really, really nice. Stay here for 2 more breaths. And whichever version you're doing, mindfully, slowly, gently, gracefully come out of the pose. And here's where we can hug the knees into the chest. Rocking from side to side, up and down. Come back to your breath. When you're ready, my friends, let's meet in butterfly pose. It wouldn't be a hip class without some butterfly pose, right? So we're laying down, Supta Baddha Konasana. The soles of the feet touch, the knees drift open. Go ahead and walk the shoulders out from underneath the body. And maybe the hands, sometimes I like to interlace them behind my head to open the chest. Sometimes I like to do like Holly's doing and take a mudra over your womb space or your pelvic floor. Or maybe 1 hand on belly, 1 hand on heart. So we started this class with an energizing aromatherapy, right? Because we did a lot of moving in this class. But now we're going to ground it down. And here's where we're using our reboot kit, the I Am Here. So lavender, chamomile, vetiver, super grounding, and brings us back to the earth, right? We mobilized a lot of energy here. So if you have that at home, go ahead and use that. I'm just going to give you some of this here. And here's where we really start to soften our rough edges. Softening our rough edges. I really find it helpful here to hold the palms in front of my face as I take a few breaths, inviting the grounding aromatherapy into the depths of my body. Imagine the lavender and the chamomile sort of like swirling and twirling around in the base of your body, the base of your spine. let some sighs out of the mouth. That really helps release tension in the pelvic floor. Make some noise. And just be. Chasing the butterfly. In release, we begin. Once, when I was 6, I chased a butterfly halfway through the reservoir before cupping it in my boyish hands. I had the beautiful thing, but I couldn't see it. To see it, I had to let it go. I kept my hands cupped as long as I could, past nose itch and leg jiggle, and then the dark flitting against my palms made me open, and magnificent plates of color lifted against my will. It was too delicate a story to tell over dinner, and soon there were books and assignments and model cars to glue and arguments and anger, and I forgot that there ever was a butterfly. It's only now, some 40 years later, that it awakens in me like a revelation placed in the hands of a pilgrim long before he knew enough to believe. Now chasing the butterfly seems like a way of life. Afraid to lose or be left out, we chase and we cling. And clinging, we are lost. It seems so obvious once living it. Now I can see that during my illness, there was the difference between fear and faith, between terror and the presence of God. Landing in a hospital bed, I chased the beat of everything I faced into my heart and tried to cup it in my boyish hands, burying my head. Of course, I had this beautiful thing beating like that butterfly, now trapped inside me. And as long as I kept all of that beauty and power of raw life cupped in my chest, in my face, in my hands, I couldn't see it. And to see it, I had to let it go. Just as when a boy, I held it as long as I could until the pounding made me open and this magnificent sense of life lifted out of me against my will. I now know that what I held so tightly within was the presence of God, which held and felt like pain and fear and terror. And over 40 years to learn this vital lesson, that the deepest things beat within, made dark and fearful by our holding, only uplifting the moment we let go. So sit quietly here for a moment and meditate on a particular pain, however slight, or fear that beats within you, fluttering in your chest. And cup your hands on your chest, over your heart. And feel that pain or that fear beating in your chest like a butterfly, like a small thing of beauty waiting to be released. And as you breathe, open your hands and let it go. Let it rise out of you into the open. And notice how it feels once you stop holding on. Let's take a deep breath in together. And let it go. Gently bring your hands to your outer knees. Release the pose, bringing the knees, thighs back together. Feel that stiffness, that release. And then take some movement here. Maybe windshield wiper the knees side to side or hug the knees in. Take anything you need here for these last few breaths. Find your breath. Welcome home. When you're ready, we'll meet in Shavasana. Encouraging you to take up a little more space here in your Shavasana. Let the feet drift off your mat. Let your arms drift off your mat. Take a moment to let out any last micro movements. Yes, any cathartic sighs. Let it go. Right? That's what we're really doing in our yoga practice. We're releasing the butterfly. Move the neck a little. Take inhales and exhales. I'm going to go ahead and spray my friends here with the dream spray to seal the deal energetically. If you have it at home, I highly encourage using it. And here we are. The final resting place of our practice, where all the magic happens. Keep the body still. And invite a deep breath into the body. And let it go. Riding the wave of your breath back to the shore. We start to invite some gentle movement now into the toes, the ankles, the fingers, and the wrists. And maybe we move the eyeballs around behind closed eyelids. We stick out the tongue, move the jaw, move the head, wiggle the forehead. And bring the soles of the feet to the ground as you stretch the arms overhead. Take a deep breath in. And we'll roll to the right side of our body for fetal position. On the breath out, rolling over to the yang side, the sun side, the side we started class with. If we want to get grounded, one of the best ways to do that is to literally get on the ground. Fetal position, the first yoga pose we ever knew. Let's gently press up to seated, trying to keep the eyes gently closed. Facing the palms down on the thighs or on the knees. Give yourself 3 deep breaths here. Let out a big sigh, yogis. So good. Let's bring our hands to heart center. We'll finish with a deep, deep Om. Really project that Om from your lower body. Inhale to Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste. Thank you. Namaste. Fly, little butterfly, fly.
Vuela, vuela.
Vuela, vuela. Thank you guys, I love you. Namaste.